back again for another video. So on this one, I'm going to address another topic that I want to address before I address the other ones. And this one is going to be on immediate need. Why I bring this up? It's because I was having a conversation, and these thoughts usually come about through conversations. And I'm like, I probably should make that into a video. But I was having a conversation with a friend of mine, and she was telling me about this was a woman that I had thought of dating several times, and I told her she needs to fix a few things before I'll even consider her as a mate. And I gave her the list of things that she needed to work on. And she really hasn't worked on them that much, to my knowledge anyways. So here we stand. But the conversation went about as far as immediate need, and addressing that she felt I didn't need her for anything. And I told her, well, I don't. I mean, she understands the whole concept of the ward and what that stands for. See Kendra's video on that. I'll probably put the link in the description. But most of the people who are watching this video are from Kendra's channel. So, because I'm always over there and everybody knows me there. But the reason why we were having this conversation, like I said, is because she felt that I didn't need anything from her and I didn't want anything from her. And she says that she didn't need or want anything from me. And that's what made me stop and think. And I've had this conversation with many of people, especially women, throughout my years. And I said the needs of both sexes are different. This is one thing people have to understand, is that when it comes to the way femininity is expressed, there are no really tangible things that you can grab a hold to and say this is what femininity represents. They manifest in the way that a woman carries herself, but other than that, you can't point at a structure, building, car, or anything and say that's feminine for the most part. There are certain things that have been designated as feminine, certain certain parts of language and art, stuff like that, etc. But rarely do you see these things out in real life and reality. Femininity exists on a whole different plane of reality. But anyways, I'll get into that in a later video. But due to the fact that femininity exists in a different realm than masculinity does, therefore the needs of femininity and masculinity are different as well. Usually when you're dealing with a black and white situation, you have to always consider the antithesis, and that there is an actual antithesis, meaning that there is something that oppositely represents what your position is currently. As far as what you're discussing, there is something that represents in a different way for a different thing that is the parallel of the other side. But anyways, so the conversation goes on, and I tell her, like, look, that may be the case for me, but that's definitely not the case for you. Now, this is a woman who lives with her father, not because she necessarily has to, but because he's elderly and she takes care of him. I mean, he owns his own house. He was once a military soldier, so he's now a veteran, so he gets money through that. And he also did a long-term job in which he retired from. So he has pension and retirement. And not only that, his house is paid for. So, pretty much he's built the necessity, or built the necessary things that she needs from a man in order to survive. So in a sense, she's correct in when she says that she doesn't need a man. That's only because he took over that role and is still in that role from the time you were born up until now, because you haven't been handed over to another man. So you are still under his protection and provision, regardless of what you think. But I doubt that she took it in that way. She meant wholeheartedly that she didn't need a man for anything, meaning that she didn't even need her own father. This is untrue. I also told her, the reason why this is untrue is because I told her, here's the thing. nature is nature. Women have a low survival rate in nature without a man's protection and provision. This is fact. This is just the dynamic that we need as humans in order to perpetuate the future of human races, or perpetuate the future of the human race. So there are certain things that we need from the opposite sex in order to perpetuate our race. And okay, I'll put it this way. Okay, so like you'll see or have heard in Kendra's video, she specifically states that a woman is the protector of a man from other women, because a woman can be the overall downfall and detriment to a man, to put him in a position where he's no longer either beneficial to himself and the ones around him that he wants to protect over, or he is a detriment to himself in the way that he is lulled to sleep by this woman's femininity so much that he is left vulnerable to her to such a degree that she could overtake him and actually kill him. So it is important for the women to be wards of men, to protect them from other malicious women. Now, as far as protection goes, there's not many other things that a man needs protecting from in this world, because this is a physical world that we live in. If we lived in the other realm, then it would be very much so that women would be the headers of whatever life would represent there. But that is not the case. Since we live in a physical world, women are more at imminent threat than men are. Because here's the thing. I'll give you an example of why and how I came about this. A woman's worth is front loaded, whereas a man's worth is back loaded. What I mean by this is that a woman gets the most protection and provision when she is in her youthful years, especially when she's in her childbearing years, very much so. Whereas a man, he doesn't get that protection and provision from women until he hits a certain level in his life. Men, we are forced to deal with the world at a very young age, in a way that is unbalanced when compared to women, because they are forced to deal with the world in a very different way when they get into those realms where they are pregnant and they have to take care of children and et cetera, these things that make them more vulnerable to what nature has intended for them. And that is always death. Nature always intends death for you. That is one thing that everything on this planet cannot escape. So nature definitely has death intended for you. It's just when that makes the difference in how you view things. But anyways, in that aspect alone, of where men are faced with the reality of the world and women are not, because they're protected from it, shows that the needs are different. Because men were forced to flex their muscle that repels these things that are detrimental to them at a very young age. We have a very strong muscle now when it comes to us being in our adult years and up, whereas women, they may not ever have faced that. So they need a man in that aspect to care for them. Now, the realm that women are good at is the realm that they were forced to be placed in at a very young age. And this is the manipulation of people around them through their femininity and their vulnerability. You can see this throughout history. You can see this through kids, very young age. You can see this through politics, everything. This permeates through everything in our lives when it comes to female and male interactions. But I just wanted to make it clear that the imminent need of women is completely different than the imminent need of men. And this is because of our own biology. That's where the derivative is from. So this is very much a fundamental in my opinion, because without understanding this, you can't branch off into other things to explain why our politics are the way they are, why our social standings are the way they are, why hypergamy even exists, or any of the other things that we talk about here in the Black manosphere and in the larger manosphere as well. So the point is, women, you need men. I mean, and this is I guess you can call her a European woman, and we're friends now, but just to have that conversation again is kind of like, come on, like it's not only Black women who have this mindset of living in a fantasy world. Women in general live in a fantasy world. I've traveled the world and I've talked to many women from different backgrounds, and this isn't nothing new. This is the reason why you go to most places in the world and men are in charge, because all the civilizations where women were in charge don't exist anymore because they lived in a fantasy world for so long, their reality crumbled around them. But anyways, men, you do have to adhere to a woman's protection. You don't have to. But if you want a better life and you want someone in your corner, you take the opportunity to recognize the women in your life who are there to protect you. It's really important because it can help you get through life and deflect all the females out of your life who mean you harm, and keep the ones in your life who don't mean you harm. Now, in the larger understanding of red pill philosophy, we definitely understand that a woman is not going to stick around because she's selfless, which is another topic that I want to talk about. Usually there is some benefit to the reason why she's around, whether it be short-term or long-term. But always keep that in mind of the type of woman that you're dealing with, that you allow to ward over your life. Be aware of what she is and who she is. Definitely vet her very hard. Test her, very much so. But don't just go in, with no vetting process. That's how you definitely end up in a bad situation. But anyway, I didn't want to make this video too long. My videos are probably about 9 to 10 minutes, something like that, 12s. And I'm coming up on that mark. So anyways, I may go into a deeper explanation of this, but for the most part, this whole I don't need a man thing is a little bit more deep rooted than what it is. It's definitely in a fantasy world, because women, you do need a man. If you were, and I'm a large understander of how the black pill works. I was having a conversation in the chat room just yesterday, in Grinch's chat room, about someone with the black pill. The black pill is amoral. It doesn't consider morality at all. It's indifferent to morality. And it is, if you go by the nature of anything, the nature of anything isn't to be omnipotent to anything other than its associated benefit, meaning that it's not going to look out for someone who it cannot benefit from. Everything else is either a predator or prey when it comes to the black pill. And us as humans, we have great defense skills and great offense skills. If we were to be black pill, civilization would not exist anymore, because black pill is, in my opinion, anti-civilization, because civilization is based off of morals. And like I've stated earlier, morality is unknown to the black pill because of amorality. But anyways, this has been the Wolf and Beta Close. Like, comment, and share. Peace be with you, and may you have a good day.